Hello and welcome to On the Record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. In the 10 weeks since Hurricane Dorian, we have done nothing else except focus on all of the episodes that really take you into the recovery efforts on the islands. And up to now, our coverage has really only focused on the main islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama. But tonight, we seek to show you another side to the recovery effort. The government finds itself having to focus on the largest concentration of the population. Yet many of the keys around the Abacos and Grand Bahama are struggling to recover. International aid, local volunteer groups, and sheer determination are driving the recovery in the Abaco Keys and those off of eastern Grand Bahama. It's left a lot of the residents wondering, where are the government agencies? But much of the humanitarian aid and supplies, while not coming directly from government, are a part of an overall national effort. Tonight, we begin a series on the recovery in the Keys and the daily struggle for survival.
In the beginning, it was like a battle zone, and then once the Green Turtle Cay Foundation started bringing supplies over to the island, that created more normalcy.
The IBC tank on this trailer is being used to deliver water throughout town, so it's being brought to the restaurants that are trying to open up so they have water to start washing their dishes to cook with.
Right the day after the hurricane, it was still pouring rain. We took off and started cleaning the road. It was completely blocked. The same road that you came down on, it was completely blocked. We started cleaning. Before we got to town, we had probably 15, 20 guys helping us do it.
At this moment, I just try to stay positive in all the situation. Know me, even in Marshall, actually leaving from Marshall, going to Nassau, coming back, I end up beside back to Abaco in the Foxan. Then me end up losing my home.
It's starting to get a little bit back to normal, but I mean, still the fact that you have no power, the fact that you are, tied to a generator. I mean, you can have power when you have a generator, but I mean, you can't run the generator 24 hours a day, so you're still sort of handicapped.
But everything is alive. We got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'll be working from sunrise to sunset.
Matt, where in the world is Matt Lauer? Where in the world is Ellison Greenslade? And so it's about the
Listen,
value of cottage in Atlanta. So we can talk about it.
On the record tonight, the government's purchase of the Grand Bahama is a hot subject in the news.
Hey Rev subscribers, Rev Cashback is here. Have you paid your Rev bill by the 27th? Are you signed up for my account in e-billing? Then you might be a winner. Tune in the first Wednesday of the month at 8 p.m. on RTV and see if you won big. With $136,000 cash back from Rev, we're giving out more than $10,000 to 50 lucky winners. Watch live on RTV channel 212, at home or on the go using RevGo Play.
The city's having a gingerbread contest. I'm an architect, not a baker.
Take two completely different people.
Ever make a gingerbread house?
My dad can make anything.
Add a big dash of Christmas cheer, and you get a gingerbread romance.
For the first time in a while, I feel like I'm home for Christmas.
Tia Maury Hardrick stars in a very sweet holiday movie surprise. A gingerbread romance.
Only on our TV.
Historic Green Turtle Cay is normally one of the more scenic keys in the Abacos, but these days it's a construction zone. The recovering and rebuilding is further along than in most other communities, yet there is an overwhelming sentiment that they want and need more government attention. As we arrived into Green Turtle Cay, we could see a community in rebuilding mode. There was work taking place everywhere, mainly roof repairs and cleanup. A journey into the historic quaint settlement revealed a recovery effort well underway. The dock was the busiest point, with the latest delivery of supplies being unloaded from a docked freighter. A short walk and a well-organized distribution center was surrounded by containers and filled with building supplies, available to whomever needed them. Louis Dames greeted us at the distribution center at the dock and talked about the progress.
Well, in the beginning, it was like a battle zone, and then once the Green Turtle Cay Foundation started bringing supplies over to the island, and that created more normalcy. People have material to put over their roofs. They were able to get lumber, put on their roof, and a lot of it is just trying to what you do on a normal days to make your life normal again. So that's what we're trying to do here, and the foundation has been a great help in all of this.
I see a lot of supplies coming in, and they all seem to be very well organized. How is that going in terms of the distribution and people getting what they need?
Fairly well, fairly well. Everybody can't always have what they want, but if they want to just close in their property, that's not a problem. And it's gonna take a while for everything to get back to normal. So it'll be a while.
What would you say has been going really well, and what are some of the things that you still need to work on the Cay here?
Well, we've got the power lines going up, so probably by the end of this month, we probably have power on the Cay. The water supply is intermittent, but we have water at the moment. And other than that, there's some of the restaurants are now reopening because they now have water. So that's one of the primary things you need in life. You have to have water. And other than that, it's slow. It's a slow press. It's like what they call it, creeping to walking. So it's going to take a while before it all gets together.
What are the advantages of a small community like this? I mean, we see Marsh Harbor and other areas, and you see the amount of damage. But you come here, you see similar damage, but you see the progress. So what are the advantages of being on a Cay like this versus larger islands where there's larger populations and harder to access?
Well, people here pull together. We pull together as one. We have a lot of help from the American population, so they help out a lot. And so with that being said, I mean that's what's kept us alive. Within the first 2 weeks of the storm, after the storm, sorry. I mean, people just bringing us food, bringing us water, things you need to survive. They brought that in, and it's vital for survival. But it's basically people here pull together, to make things happen. Go ahead.
How much help have you gotten from the second homeowners and some of the foreign interests that are here as well?
Pretty much 100%. 100%. That's the ones with all the foreign currencies coming in, so the locals can then have monies to buy things they need to get their properties organized and put back together.
Have you had any sort of, I think the Prime Minister may have visited last week, I think so. Have you gotten a lot of assistance and guidance from government in the recovery?
Government? What's that? No, we have hardly any assistance from the government. The first time they showed up here was 10 days after the storm to have a meeting. So if it wasn't for the Americans, I don't know where we would be. But the government has very little assistance helping us back together. So it's the people, along with the American population, fighting to stay alive, and it's working. I mean, we've always been resilient to most hurricanes, and this one will be no different. People pulling together, making things work, and that's what we do. It's been that way from the history, from the beginning of time. We've always pulled together and make it work.
Almost every damaged home and business on the Cay was getting some kind of attention. Yet, getting and maintaining simple necessities can be a challenge. Take, for instance, water. While water supplies are being restored, a group called Water Mission is providing a steady supply.
So Water Mission is a Christian engineering ministry that does water projects all around the world. And we do water projects in developing communities in countries like Uganda, Malawi, Tanzania, but we also do disaster response. So anywhere where hurricanes happen or earthquakes, things like that, we're there to provide water right after the disaster. So that's what we're doing here. We're using reverse osmosis to make water. This system can make around 4,000 gallons per day, and then we have a system at the Green Turtle Club that can make around 500 gallons per day. So we're also we're not just in Green Turtle, we're also in Marsh Harbor and Treasure Cay. We have a system in Treasure Cay that can make around 1,000 gallons per day, and then we have a system in Marsh Harbor that can do around 30,000 gallons per day at full capacity. So we're kind of all over Abaco. Later this week, we're planning to do an install in Man o' War with another 4,000 gallon per day system. But that's a little bit about what we do.
Okay, and is it safe for drinking, eating, drinking, cooking, bathing, washing, those kinds of things, or is it water specifically just for some purposes?
No, absolutely. This is safe water to drink, so it goes through the reverse osmosis, and it comes out the product water. We're testing it to make sure that we put free chlorine in the water to make sure that there's no bacteria that could be alive, and then we also test for conductivity to make sure that it doesn't have high salinity levels. So we're testing for all sorts of things to make sure this water can be used for things like showering, but also for drinking as well.
Okay, awesome. And how is it really aided folks in the community, and how are they able to access it? I see you have this apparatus here. Do these go out to people, or how do people get access to the water?
Absolutely. So people can come up right here and they can get drinking water from one of these IBC tanks, such as the one right there. But also the IBC tank on this trailer is being used to deliver water throughout town. So it's being brought to the restaurants that are trying to open up, so they have water to start washing their dishes, to cook with. So it's being distributed through town on trailers, and then people can come get it at the dock where it's being made as well.
Okay, so are just you two assigned to this particular station, or are there other folks on the Key? And about how many people in general would you say are in the Bahamas right now?
At any given time, we have probably 10 to 15 people on the ground in the Bahamas, and we rotate through. We have teams that rotate every 2 to 3 weeks to different places, and then we'll have engineers that come in and do assessments at some of the places where we're doing new installations. So we do rotating teams, like I said, every 2 to 3 weeks.
Water Mission is one of dozens of volunteer groups and NGOs scattered around the affected islands and keys, helping in the recovery. Volunteer groups are a common sighting in the recovery zones. Each group has to be approved and vetted and will be responsible for their own volunteers, no matter how dire the conditions might be. But many local groups like the Green Turtle Cay Foundation have organized their own relief efforts, banding together to get the proverbial ball rolling.
Green Turtle Cay Foundation was actually already in play before the storm, but they saw this as an opportunity to try and get all the relief that we could to the island as fast as we could to try and jumpstart that. Our biggest goals have been getting the basic supplies to the island. Once we were able to kind of study that aspect, we started working on rebuilding supplies, both for homes, businesses, and larger projects like water and power to the island.
And you said, you've been working to get supplies to the island, and how have they been distributed? Is it on a as needed basis, or does everybody get a certain amount, or how does it work?
It's largely been on an as needed basis. If somebody says, I need food, I need water, that's obviously never a question. For some of the larger supplies, it's can you do work now? And if so, then awesome, get your materials. If it's something that has to be down the line, we have no plan on stopping right now. So it would be, if you can do it now, then we can help you right now. And if you have to wait, then we'll be here then too.
What would you say have been some of the biggest hurdles you've had to overcome? I mean, in this recovery effort, there's so much to do, but certainly would have been some of the biggest setbacks and hurdles that you've had to encounter?
From my view, I think that the biggest hurdles are just having what you need when you need it. Say that you have most of what you need to finish a project, and that last 10% of supplies or personnel or whatever that you don't have really sets back a whole big manner of doing things. And I think that's been the biggest struggle, is having all of what you need when you need it.
The community really seems to have come together in a substantial way. Is that would that be one of the things you say is a benefit to a key in a small community like this?
Yes, I think that being able to see little progress every day has influenced the community to come together. And even if you're having a rough day or a slow day, seeing somebody else do that work really pulls it to more motivation as the small key does it all together.
Do you think people really know the progress that's taking place here? I mean, given that, we see the devastation in the larger islands and the larger areas almost every day, but do you think people really get to see or understand and appreciate how much progress you all have been making?
I think that people on the key even have a hard time stepping back from their immediate view and seeing how far we've come so quickly. But I think that when people come in and express what they've seen, then it's a helpful reality check of, wow, we really are moving, and it's wonderful. I don't know about other places how they know, but I think that in my eyes, before I came, seeing what Green Turtle was doing inspired me, and so I hope that's doing that for other places.
Sure. And do you work just as an autonomous group, or are you working with local government and central government and those groups?
We are working with local government for sure. I don't know about all of the other entities at play. I know that we're more than happy to communicate and work with anyone who we can get in contact with. One of our members on our board is Giselle McIntosh, and she is the chief counselor, I think is the correct term, of the Green Turtle Cay local government. And so having her be on both of those roles has really aided us in communicating to who we need to talk to get stuff done.
Coming off the high season of June to August, this was the best year they've seen economically in years. They have one of the highest rates of return visitors in the Bahamas and was voted the most romantic destination in the Caribbean by USA Today. For Deputy Chief Counselor Wade Cash, this community has a long and hard road ahead, given the condition they were left in by Dorian, but he says they are making progress.
We are moving along quite rapid right now. We just got all the bucket trucks and utility poles, about a week and a half ago, and that's going quite well. I'm really impressed. They're getting the poles up, wire strung. In the aspect of water, we got water running on the island about a week ago. Of course, we're finding some challenges because we have broken pipelines and all that stuff. But as of right now, it's on and doing good. You know.
What have been some of the major challenges you've encountered? I mean, when you consider you're a key, it's not like some of the larger islands that have been able to get supplies and things of that nature. But what has it been like for you?
We have been pretty good, thanks to our neighbors in the U.S. I mean, they have been phenomenal. We have had ship after ship in here bringing supplies. I mean, it seems like every other week there's one in here. And, everybody's getting their roofs rebuilt. Cleanup's getting done. I'll tell you a story, like right after the hurricane, it was still blowing 70 miles an hour. My son and myself, we went in that house over there. That's where we ranched out for the hurricane. And right the day after the hurricane, it was still pouring rain. We took off and started cleaning the road. It was completely blocked. The same road that you came down on, it was completely blocked. We started cleaning. Before we got to town, we had probably 15, 20 guys helping us do it. And we just went right through town, cleaned the whole town. Everything was possible then, which was, unbelievable. Green Turtle Cay, everybody kind of jumps together and, makes it happen. And that's awesome.
We've heard from some of the other keys and from these people saying that they have not seen central government. They've had to rely on local government and other associations. Has that hampered you in any way?
It is not. In some cases it has. I would have liked to have seen boots on the ground from government before now. But they showed up, the other day and give us some hope. Of course, we haven't seen certain things yet, but we're still hoping, that they will come to pass. But we're getting it done. We would like to see more help from government, but we can't sit down and wait for them to come. We've got to get it done.
I was about to say, communities like this really will answer the call and do what's necessary. Do you think that's what sets you apart from so many other communities, particularly those of you on the Keys, that you guys are close-knit and you work well together and very quickly?
Yes, and I think this is what happens over the years, because we jump right in and get it done. Government feels like we don't have to worry about Green Turtle right now. They're going to do it, and I think that's not good in a way, But we get it done. You've been through town. It's amazing. The Prime Minister was there a couple of days ago, and he was there not too long after the hurricane, and he was very surprised how the town has been cleaned up since he was here before. It's unreal.
In an instance like this, do you think this is when the real test of local government comes into force, when you all really are the authority on the ground? Absolutely,
yeah. Well, like this morning, the chief's off the island. It's become a problem, and I just put an announcement on the radio. Golf carts, everybody just parks on the side of the road. We're trying to get cleaned up. Bucket trucks are up and down the road. I went down, it took me 15 minutes from the top of the hill to the end of town a little while ago. So I said, you know what, this is enough. I put an announcement on the radio and said, please, we have to try to keep the main roads clear for all the stuff that's going on. So I went and saw the police, I had him go, and anybody, I said, just ask him in a nice way to, pull off. So hopefully this will happen today.
In Abaco proper, Marsh Harbor, even surrounding communities, there are complaints of looting and people stealing, etc. Have you had any issues here?
We have not. There's been a couple minor things right after the storm, especially over in the back here. Some folks after 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, some people saw some lights going on, and it shouldn't have been. But for the most part, I'm going to have to say no, not really. There has been a little bit, but, you expect that in times like this.
And when we come back,
in the process of trying to rebuild now, because all of the hardware stores in Marsh Harbor, all the banks in Marsh Harbor, etc., are not up and functioning. It's very difficult to get supplies. If you're trying to get supplies out of the U.S., everything is backed up there at the port trying to get here. And if you're trying to get supplies out of Nassau, the mailboat coverage isn't enough, and the suppliers in Nassau are so taxed with the extra necessities that a lot of people don't have the supplies.
Incudus is a shared workspace company that provides services for professionals, freelancers, anybody that's in need of a turnkey solution for a private office space, a conference room rental, or part-time office space service. One of our main services that we provide to our members is high-speed internet access. There can be up to about 50 members within our space utilizing the internet and the Rev voice services. And Rev has done an excellent job of dedicated, reliable, high-speed internet service.
welcome to On the Record. Looking for more On the Record? If you miss our Thursday showing at 8 p.m., join us for the re-airing on Friday mornings at 10, and then again each Sunday night at 8:30. Or go to our YouTube channel and catch up on all of our past episodes. And then like our Facebook and Instagram pages for a preview of upcoming shows and get a chance to ask your questions. Just look for On the Record.
The city's having a gingerbread contest. I'm an architect, not a baker.
Take two completely different people.
Ever make a gingerbread house?
My dad can make anything.
Add a big dash of Christmas cheer, and you get a gingerbread romance.
For the first time in a while, I feel like I'm home for Christmas.
Tia Maury Hardrick stars in a very sweet holiday movie surprise, A Gingerbread Romance.
Only on our TV.
This portion of On the Record brought to you by Generali, your employee benefit solutions provider.
Thank you for tuning into On the Record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer, and this segment is brought to you by Generali. 6 miles away from Cooperstown, 15 miles north of Green Turtle Cay, is Spanish Cay, one of the least known keys in the Abacos. It's protected by one of the largest barrier reefs in the world. The private island has a full-service marina. Visitors can enjoy resort hotel rooms and condos featuring an uninterrupted, breathtaking view of the Atlantic Ocean. But upon visiting the Cay, it's as if no hurricane even passed by. Spanish Cay has 3 miles of soft, sandy beaches, namely Barefoot Beach, one of the main attractions for the Cay, featuring water activities such as snorkeling, scuba diving, swimming, and kayaking. The 60-slip marina and fuel station welcomes boaters from large yachts to small fishing vessels. The Cay also has an airstrip, complete with Bahamian customs and immigration. It's one of few places open for business. The restaurant and marina overlooks the ocean and is providing visitors some of the best cuisine on Abaco. Virtually untouched by Dorian, the operators are doing their part to help out. In the aftermath of the storm, the airstrip was used as a staging point for supplies to get to Abaco. They have also employed quite a few Abaconians who lost homes, jobs, and incomes. It's where we found Faylene McIntosh, a resident of Murphytown. She helps out around the resort. mainly just to escape the daily realities of her life on the mainland. Reluctant to speak with us at first, we soon came to realize that so many weeks later, the horror of it all is almost still too much to speak about.
Me, my 4 kids, my grandkids, and we was in Murphytown. And it was like after 11, the first one, my son, the air condition blowing, and he said, we have to get ready to go. And like minutes after, the roof started to come off. And all of us start to go to the next apartment. By the time we reached to the next the apartment complex, their roof was already off. So we had to run to the next one. And the next one, that was off already. So everyone had to get together and try to get to a shelter. But at that point, all the roads and everything was already blocked off. So we had to try our best to clear whatever we could clear to make a path that we could to get through a shelter. But as we was passing to go to a shelter, the horrifiable situation we have seen, cannot forget it. It was horrible. Because we are seeing so much. People was hollering and screaming. It's just like Judgment Day. Every shelter we went to was already destroyed. It was like Judgment Day. Everybody was hollering and screaming. Can't find nowhere to go. That experience, I wish that for no one. That was horrible.
So
I had my 6 months years old young baby, my granddaughter, with us. But through it all, she was smiling that she gave us peace, knowing that we was running for our lives, but she's smiling.
Where did you eventually make it to? Where did you find safety and find shelter?
We find shelter by the government clinic. After we done been to 4 different shelters, then we find refuge at the government clinic, where we reside there.
And what did you do after the storm had passed? People were trying to evacuate. There was so much chaos. What did you and your family do?
We sleep in a car for 5 nights. Me, my son's girlfriend, 4 other persons and the little baby, and we had a next little baby in the car. We sleep in a car for 5 nights, and it was raining right after the hurricane, so we couldn't get out to do nothing. So we had to just stay right in the car.
How did you survive in the car? Did you have food? Did you have water?
We had nothing. Only God's grace. That's all we had is God's grace.
You are now working over here at Spanish Cay. Tell me about, how are you trying to get your life back together?
At this moment, I just try to stay positive in all the situation. Know me, even in Mashaba, actually leaving from Mashaba, going to Nassau, coming back, I end up beside back to Abaco in the Foxon. Then me end up losing my home.
Where are you staying now? How are you surviving right now?
I was surviving. I stay in with my son at the moment.
But you're still coming to work every day?
Some days. Just trying to help out for now.
Where's the rest of the family right now?
The 2 still in Nassau and 2 in Abaco. 2 Foxtown. And the grandbaby and the rest of the grandkids stay in Moss Island, different places.
You are going to rebuild?
Yes, I want to. But I can't say now because it's very hard. When you don't have the funds to rebuild, then now we have to be waiting on the government and see what they're gonna do. But I just have hope and trust and pray in God. In everything, in any situation, I trust God.
McIntosh evacuated to Nassau after the storm, but says it was just too costly for her and her family to remain here with no income. She lost all of her possessions when her home blew down. Like so many others here, her future is so uncertain. And still to come in our program tonight.
And Abaconians too are returning in great numbers, and so a big part of the Abaco economy is the tourism dollar, and so some keys are seeking to rebound, and their peak season is just about coming up now, November.
Hello and welcome to On the Record, and a balanced, true and open debate you've been looking for.
Business in the Box is your solution for business from Cable Bahama. It's an internet, voice, mobile, and advertising solution all in one place. Get reliable internet, free domestic call, and a live corporate package, and free TV ad placement, all starting with packages as low as $164 a month. You can save over $3,000 a year. Just call 601-8911. That's 601-8911. And ask for Business in a Box from Cable Bahama's Business Solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
Discover the possibilities.
Discover the possibilities.
Discover the possibilities.
I discovered the possibilities.
I discovered the possibilities.
This Christmas,
you're working all the time.
I just want a big
one woman will get a second chance.
You've been selected as a Christmas angel.
And you believe that I can change someone's life.
I know that's true.
And discover her heavenly calling.
You really are an angel.
Starring Kristen Davis, Eric McCormick, and Academy Award winner Shirley MacLaine.
What are you not telling me?
Just trust me. A Heavenly Christmas.
Only on Our TV.
You're watching On the Record. Thanks for joining us. Well, the Cays of Abaco, described as the backbone of Abaco, were major tourist attractions and provided a home away from home for second homeowners. Many of those keys were left in rubble by Hurricane Dorian, but the recovery effort is very different. As you are about to see yet again, these communities have had very little government presence and seem to be doing just fine without it. As Albury's ferry docked into Guana Cay, we could see the tremendous amount of work taking place here. But first, some context. This is the first island you come to south of No Name Cay and the Whale Cay Passage. Guana's ocean beach lines its 5.5 miles of coast and reputably the most beautiful in all of the Abacos. At the northwest point is Baker's Bay, one of 2 or 3 gateway resorts in the Abacos for the rich and famous. Since the storm, the company has reported massive damage, laying off a large number of workers, while others remain as part of the rebuilding. The closest we could get was to a docking point to allow the workers and police off the boat. Great Guana Cay was a picturesque small settlement 3 miles south of Baker's Bay. The settlement is described as providing a real out-island feel. But famous places like Milo's produce stand, which has been at the same location for generations, Grabbers and Nippers, some of the hottest spots in Abaco, are no more, at least for now. Instead, we found a community of local Abaconians, second homeowners and volunteers trying to restore a nearly flattened community. Of the 300 homes on the Cay, 75 are destroyed. 31 belong to Bahamians. The base of operation and distribution is a food tent, where World Food Kitchen feeds the population on the Cay 6 days a week. There's a community-wide cleanup on Saturdays, and Sundays they allow crews to rest. Michelle Ruiz is a 25-year second homeowner. On a daily basis, she's all over the Cay. On the day we visited, she was our driver and tour guide.
Seaside Gospel Church of Great Guana Cay.
Oh, okay. And what happened?
So the water rushed through the doors about 4 feet high. It lifted the foundation. So you can see the cracks. So what we did was we pulled out all the carpeting, the pews. We lost, a few things. So now what we did was turn this in. The church is our haven. So this is our haven where we get our supplies from the donators. So every Bahamian that's here, the local homeowner, gets a generator. Make sure that we can supply them with oil, chainsaws, whatever they need. And we encourage the second homeowners to come if they need some help to come here. We have a checkout system.
Okay.
It's an honor system. You come in, you check it in and out, and that's how we're doing it. That's how we're able to clean up so well.
Awesome. So any homeowner on the island has access to whatever is in it.
Yeah, right. Right. And so we have over our community board, so who needs help doing certain things. And every Saturday we have volunteer day. So everybody gets off their homes and comes into town. We have an update of everything that's going on in the community, and then we start clearing out. Like for example, you see Front Street's nice and clean now. We did the schoolhouse, we did the cemetery last Saturday. So every Saturday. Okay? So come on. So you already went to the command center.
As we made our way in a bit further, the more we realized just how bad things must have been here. This boat, lodged in the middle of the street, helped to put things into context.
And that was in the harbor here. And this kid here had to swim out of his house. He had to swim out of his house up to Sands Hill. We call this Sands Hill. Wow. His name is Brandon Sands. I wish he was here. You could have interviewed him. He was in town.
Troy Aubrey, a local government council representative, helped us to understand their current reality.
Well, out of the 225 homes in the settlement area, there were 75 that were totally destroyed. I mean, like down to the foundation destroyed. About another 90 were significantly damaged. I mean, roof damage, windows, doors. And then there were probably about 30 or 40 that came through with just minimal damage. But in addition to that, of course, no power, no communications. Alive is back up now, but the garbage situation on the island was a big problem for us because we have no heavy equipment left to move garbage and debris around, so that's been a really big problem. The supplies, as far as supplies coming in, as far as food and water and essentials, we've always been pretty good on that front. But in the process of trying to rebuild now, because all of the hardware stores in Marsh Harbor, all the banks in Marsh Harbor, et cetera, are not up and functioning, it's very difficult to get supplies. If you're trying to get supplies out of the U.S., everything is backed up there at the port trying to get here. And if you're trying to get supplies out of Nassau, the mailboat coverage isn't enough. And the suppliers in Nassau are so taxed with the extra necessities that, a lot of people don't have the supplies that we need. So that's the ongoing process. Even if you have the money to be able to rebuild, insurance is still, could be weeks out before you get your checks. So even if you have the money to rebuild, it's still difficult to even buy supplies.
On a day-to-day basis, how are you sort of looking after the people on the island? I see people working, moving around, etc. How is that going? And is it a little easier because it's a smaller community?
Well, because we have a large second homeowner base and they have the means and the facilities to fly in personally or boat in personally, that helps us out because we have that link with the supplies. And because it's a small community, that we have only a certain amount of people and not that many homes to rebuild, as opposed to Marsh Harbor where there's so much trying to be built over there. So the second homeowner has been grateful to get us moving, and we had serving 3 meals a day at the community center and along those lines to try to keep everybody motivated and together. But as more and more people come in, it's getting people are starting to, we just got a grocery store kind of opened up, so people are buying their own things, eating at home, and it's starting to get a little bit back to normal. But I mean, still the fact that you have no power, the fact that you are, tied to a generator. I mean, you can have power when you have a generator, but I mean, you can't run the generator 24 hours a day, so you're still sort of handicapped in that sense. And then the fact that, you're trying to build stuff and there's no hardware to buy supplies has been tough on us.
What would you say will be your immediate needs in the next few months? I mean, where do you see all of this going in the next few months as you move towards, trying to fully rebuild?
Well, the thing that the Prime Minister was here about a week ago, and we identified our major needs are going to be some way to get rid of our garbage and yard debris, and not only to get rid of it, but to move it from point A to point B, because heavy equipment, we were trying to do it manually. You get 50 or 60 guys on the road and they can fill a truck, but if you got a guy with a backhoe, an excavator, and a grapple hook, then it's a lot easier. So we identified that if we could get some heavy equipment in here and some people to run it, that would be a great assistance to us. And the Prime Minister has promised that he would help us with that. And in fact, I got a call yesterday. They're going to be bringing some heavy equipment onto the island before the end of the week to help us to get stuff. Because as you drive around, you'll see piles and piles of stuff on the side of the road. People have gutted their houses pretty much. And, it's nowhere to put it, and it's nowhere to get it to any place, even if there was a place to put it. So we're working on that. In addition to that, they've promised us that they're going to help us out with the VAT and the duty-free status, which is going to be great once we can actually get stuff here, and once they actually get it enacted in Parliament, because that seems to be a little bit of a glitch there. They told us we'd have VAT on fuel, VAT-free on fuel until such time as we got power, but then they stepped back from that and they said, well, we can't do that right now because it's going to take some accounting procedures, etc., so it won't happen until December. So that is sort of a little bit of a setback.
As the returning ferry docked, we had limited time on our hands and our trip was cut short. As Ruiz quickly drove us to our awaiting ride back to the mainland, she and I managed to get in a few words.
So what would you say has been probably the most challenging part of this recovery effort?
Actually, there's two facets. It's having volunteers, people, and getting materials. Those are the two hardest things.
Yeah. What's it like on a day-to-day basis? I mean, you're on a small key. There's so much to do. How do you get through every day?
The alarm clock is now the generator turning off because the gas is out. You go outside, you fill it up, you turn it back on, so you make yourself a pot of coffee, and you go on to the next thing. That's pretty much it.
What's the response been like from the second homeowners like yourself and others?
100% favorable. If it wasn't for the second homeowners, we wouldn't come as far as we have.
What do you think now is going to be sort of your biggest hurdle going forward?
It's both materials and manpower. I mean, this key, Abaco in general, strong work ethic. It's just we don't have enough people. And right now it's trying to get the homes of the Bahamians taken care of first so they have a home to be in, and then we can bring more people.
And so interestingly, you are focused on getting the Bahamians' homes up.
First, that's the number one priority.
First. Yeah.
Yes. Right. I'm housing friends in my house while we're building their house. That's what we have to do.
And when we come back,
in particular, a lot of the keys, local government is on the ground. Local government consulates are being relied on heavily, from Grand Cay to Turtle Cay, Guana, Hope, Manawar. A lot of the organization and the coordination for those international agencies are coming with consuls' assistance, and so local government, I'm pleased with their involvement. And a lot of the consulates who would have been devastated personally in Central Abaco, a number of them are also returning back to assist in the recovery.
Each year, Holly finds the perfect Christmas tree.
I am Miss Christmas. This is what I do? Wow!
I'm sorry, you can't have this tree. And now, she just might find her perfect match.
Dad! Did they say yes? Do we have the tree?
Brooke Dorsey, Mark Blucas.
Every year I miss Christmas, but this feels like my first real Christmas.
Miss Christmas.
Only on our TV.
hello and welcome to On the Record, a debate-style television talk show where Bahamians will find the balanced, true, and open debate they've been looking for.
And the icon goes to On the Record.
On the Record was born out of a desire to do something different. What we do every day helps our country, it helps our society, it helps to shape the views and opinions.
Listen, what is more dangerous than corruption?
We've got to move very quickly. Let's wrap up.
Integrity.
It's all on the record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Our discussion begins on the other side of this break.
Rev is proud to announce that we remain title sponsor for the Don't Blink Home Run Derby. We've had a long-standing relationship with Todd Isaacs, his family, and the Freedom Farm Baseball League through the years. Todd and Lucius Fox's vision for giving back to the Bahamian community and showcasing the positivity and success of young men in our community is one that the Rev family continues to support wholeheartedly. We look forward to seeing all of our homegrown athletes return and participate in this annual event.
The city's crafted gingerbread contest. I'm an architect, not a baker.
Take two completely different people.
Ever make a gingerbread house?
My dad can make anything.
Add a big dash of Christmas cheer, and you get a gingerbread romance.
For the first time in a while, I feel like I'm home for Christmas.
Tia Maury Hardrick stars in a very sweet holiday movie surprise, A Gingerbread Romance.
Only on Our TV.
And welcome back to On the Record. This is our final segment in this show. Our journey to the Keys would have begun with a flight into Abaco through the Marsh Harbour Airport. Over these many weeks, we've seen the eventual return of many essential services. It's also where we had a chance to speak with the island's administrator. Seeing the actual progress is always important. Over the many trips to Marsh Harbour, we have seen the airport evolve from an almost apocalyptic scene to various levels of progress. With regular commercial flights now resuming, the airport is steadily becoming more and more functional. On the outside, we see improvements and a return to order.
There's a lot that still has to be done, in particular securing the perimeters. I know the Prime Minister has, put a great request in terms of getting the airport up and running to receive international flight, because that has not yet resumed. So there's a lot of work going on with the fencing, as well as there was a lot of work that needed to be done inside the facilities, in particular cleaning up the facilities. There's still some structural work to be done. The air condition itself needs to be repaired. So it's still quite a bit to be done, but they've come a long way from what it was in the beginning. They've come a long way.
And why is that so important to the island?
This is the gateway, the main gateway that allow access to Abaco. And Abaconians too are returning in great numbers. And so a big part of the Abaco economy is the tourism dollar. And so some keys are seeking to rebound, and their peak season is just about coming up now, November. And so even the homeowners having access to be able to come in and check on their assets is important. So those international flights is critical for Abaco's recovery, to boost the tourism sector, but also to allow, Bahamians and those who lost so much to continue to come in.
Interestingly, you mentioned the Keys. We visited quite a few of the Keys, and they are doing a lot of work on their own.
Yes.
And even critical of the fact that they haven't seen government. So I want to talk a little bit about that. What's happening on the Keys, and how is local and central government assisting?
In particular, a lot of the Keys, local government is on the ground. Local government consulas are being relied on heavily, from Grand Cay to Turtle Cay, Guana, Hope, Manawar. A lot of the organization and the coordination for those international agencies are coming with consuls assistance, and so local government are pleased with their involvement. And a lot of the consulas who would have been devastated personally in central Abaco, a number of them are also returning back to assist in the recovery. What I am seeing in the Keys is great organization in terms of driving the self-help initiative along with partners and international connections. And so in Turtle Cay in particular, the effort through the Green Turtle Cay Foundation is led by the Chief Consular, and they have done remarkable in terms of what they've been able to raise and the help from Key West, because they consider Key West their sister state. And then we have Grand Cay, where the effort is being led there by the Chief Consular, Roswell Curry, and through assistance through the Walker's Cay resort. The owner of Walker's Cay has stepped in and adopted Little Grand Cay. Remarkable things has already been done. The school is already almost repaired. He's committed to repairing even other public structures. He's already donated water supply, and so he's active on the ground. Hopetown and Man of War, as well as Guana Cay, consulars are active on the ground. The chief consular is back. The deputy chief consular was leading the charge in the absence of the chief consular, who had a medical issue with his family. But we know that what is driving them is their ability to form partnerships and ability to coordinate international assistance. And really, you see a lot happening on the ground through aid and international assistance.
And does that now free up central government, even local government here, to do more?
Yes. One of the messages from Green Turtle Cay, Hopetown, and Man of War is that while there may be international assistance in great volume on the ground, there are some aspects that only central government can assist them with. Green Turtle Cay's greatest demand, for example, was that the huge volume of debris. They had a crisis with their open dumping garbage site before the hurricane. So they needed central government assistance to come in and badge all of that debris on, all of the tax waiver in the zone that was declared, all of that only government could do, as well as to ensure that all of the red tape that blocks international agencies from rendering the kind of assistance that they want to see on the ground, only government can do that. And then you have a number of residents are waiting with great anticipation to see in terms of what role government will play in the rebuilding of their personal homes and their personal assets, and what help will come through grants or loans to assist the business community. So there are some aspects of what is needed to fully recover only government can do for them, and they understand that, and they've been asking for that. And even in the town meeting led by the Prime Minister, these were the things that they said to him. Yes, we're getting help, but there are some aspects of our recovery that only central government can help us with.
Well, folks, that's going to do it here for us and here on The Record. We do hope that you have enjoyed our show tonight, and be sure to tune in next week again. Special thanks to my producer, staff, and technical team. Once again, I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.